Greetings, greetings, greetings. I am DLT, and you are live on the awesome show. And today is an awesome day given to us by an awesome God to do some awesome things. And I am happy to be your host today on the awesome show. How are you doing out there, wherever you are in the world, Jamaica, the USA, UAE, wherever you are? How are you doing? A lot of people are now counting down to the Christmas period, 2020 Christmas period. And it's one of those times when a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on buying the gifts and spending, doing all kinds of stuff. As always, a lot of people even call it a silly season, but for those of us who know Christ and we believe in the birth of Jesus Christ, we believe that this is a period that we should spend more time to focus on the Creator and the one who gives us life. So again, welcome to the awesome show. Today is going to be a very exciting show because we have a very special guest on the show with us. So tune in, share it with your friends, and be blessed by the show today. You're going to be hearing a lot about ministry, about music, about education, about family, and also about fashion. So we're going to be talking fashion, faith, and favor. And my host on the show today is my very, very good friend of about 20 years. When I thought about when I met him, it was about the year 2000, 2001, thereabouts. So it's about 19, 20 years since we have met over there at the wonderful Assemblies of God Bible College in Christiana, where we went to be trained as ministers. So my guest on the show today is a husband of a beautiful wife. He has 2 kids. He is in the education system. He's also an awesome worship leader, awesome man of God, and also a very powerful mentor to young people. He served as a youth pastor at the Faith Temple Assembly of God in Montego Bay for a number of years, and then he transitioned. So my guest on the show today is none other than Jermaine Bolton. Jermaine Bolton, welcome to the awesome show. And also, thank you for being my first official guest on the awesome show. The show has been in planning for years, and now it's finally coming together. So we bless God for having you on the show today. Thank you. Welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about who Jermaine Bolton is, and then we can go into some other exciting stuff about you and your ministry.
Well, Dayle, first of all, let me say, even before getting into anything, thanks for having me on the show. It's really a privilege. You know, as you've mentioned before, we've gone far back. Slept on the same bed, ate from the same pot as brothers, and studied in the same college. And it's just good to be a part of the show. It's awesome to be a part of the awesome show. Yeah, indeed. So pretty much, interestingly, I don't like to speak about myself, but then yes, I have to if I have to, right? Jermaine Bolton is known as a multifaceted young man whose gifts include, singing, worship leading. I'm known as a preacher as well, in some circles. I'm an administrator, events planner. As you mentioned before, I'm a husband of a wonderful wife, Asha, and I'm a father of 2 children, my daughter, Brooke, and my son, Liam. Liam is just 8 weeks old, and my daughter is almost 2. So I have 2 little ones, 2 little babies. Yeah. And, I believe in purpose. I believe in destiny. And I have a personal philosophy that I've, garnered from my spirit. And it is when one knows the heart of God, he also knows when he's moving in the line of destiny.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Sounding good. All right. So one of my first questions to you would be, how did you start out in ministry? And I know from your background, a lot of people would remember the young battalions, and then I think the name changed to the battalions, a group of young, vibrant musicians who dominated Manchester, St. Elizabeth, and even other countries as well. I'm sure you guys went overseas at some point to tour. So tell us about some of your early experiences and how did you start out in ministry? And if you'd want to even share about the age that you started out as well.
Huh. Well, interestingly, a lot of people would not know, but I started out in ministry from ever since I was about 6 years old, as young as 6. Because I remember when I was in the first grade in elementary school.
Right.
In America we say elementary. In Jamaica we say primary school. I was in the first grade, or grade 1, however you may term that. I remember I was sharing gospel tracks with my teachers, not with my peers, my classmates, but with my teachers. I was actually handing out tracks in the school. I remember even going to my vice principal and sharing a gospel track with her, letting her know that Jesus loves her and all that kind of thing. And when I was in that age group, age 6, I remember telling everyone that I want to be a pastor. Didn't even know what it entails to be a pastor. Just went to church at the time and seeing pastor on stage preaching. I was like, I want that. And then my sister, because I'm from a large family, so I'm the 10th of 11 children. So therefore, I have siblings who could be my parents. So while I was in primary school, I had a sister who was going to college. She was going to Bible college. And then she had, she was the one who had, access to all these gospel tracks, and, she was the one who, provided all these. And I just remember seeing her in ministry, and I was like, I just want to be like her, I want to go to Bible college when I'm older. I want to be a pastor. And, everybody knew my goal from that time. My primary school teachers, my Sunday school teachers, my family members, everyone was just like looking forward to Jermaine being a pastor. So I was like an active evangelist from that time, very active in ministry. And then I continued through the years, preaching in school. When I get my lunch break, I used to have my school church, where I had my members who were my peers. That was like, by then I was like in the 3rd grade, 4th grade.
Yeah.
And Dayle, I'm telling you, that time in life, I was a very fiery preacher. It's not now when I'm like a Bible teacher. I was like so fiery at the time, man. It was like, Jesus says, come to the water. And you tell them thirst again, and it's like preaching hard, I remember during that time, we were planting our home church at the time. Because by then my family was transitioning into the Assemblies of God, when I was like in, like, say, grades 3, 4, 5, around there. And we used to have these nightly crusades. And when I go to church in the nights, I would make sure, listen to everything the pastor says, and come back to school and preach it the next day.
Right.
And students would be so come to my church, and then everybody in the school called me a preacher. And that kind of like, stayed with me all these years. And, even during the periods of time when I wanted to hide away from the ministry and forget about ministry, then I would always be reminded when I see my peers on the street, oh, preacher, what's going on, man? And I'm like, okay, I'm called to be a preacher. So, from then, leaving primary school, going through high school, gained some pride during that period of time, wanted to change my career, wanted to change the passion, because I got so prideful. I was like, okay, I'm ashamed to be a pastor now. So I wanted to do like, teaching or mass communications. But then when I graduated from high school, it's like I could not do anything else. I actually applied to a teacher's college, got through, and then I just could not go. I had to just go to Bible college. I stayed 1 year at home after high school, and then went to Bible college where I met you, and my ministry started from there. That was kind of like early days in ministry. Backtracking a little bit, you did mention the young battalions. When I was like in the 4th, 5th grade, around there, I became part of this well-renowned gospel group, boys group. At first, we're called the Junior Boys, and then our name changed to the young battalions. We toured all across Jamaica singing a fiery group. I was always the very conservative one, though, when it comes down to singing. So, those guys would be like, doing all they get something on a wave and just like, steaming up everyone. But, whenever it was the conservative songs, like the altar call songs or the inspirational moments in the performance, then I would be the first to do that. And, we toured right across Jamaica. We went to the Cayman Islands many times. We toured the Cayman Islands. There were quite a number of tours that were lined up in the United States as well. We were young and, our management was young as well. Some of those did not materialize, but, we were award winning. We were an award winning group. We were like, a household name in Jamaica at the time. I'm sure many people who are watching right now would have remembered the Genesis days and some of Mark Edwards concerts, Tony Young concerts, and all that kind of thing. Young Battalions was the group to kind of close the concerts out. I was part of that. So those are good memories. Transitioned from that and went solo ministry. So that's my early days in ministry.
Great. And it sounds exciting, and I'm sure those watching this broadcast would say, "Whoa, that sounds good." But I'm sure through all of that, there must have been some kind of challenges here and there. What were some of your challenges, if you would like to just share some of your early challenges in ministry as a young man growing up, doing music? I'm sure even becoming popular on stage, and a lot of people seeing you and stuff. What were some of the challenges that you would have had during those days in your early start to ministry?
Challenges, oh my God, there were many. If I point out one or two, always having a passion to do more, because I've always looked at myself as someone who's kind of outside the box. A country guy, but then I was so urban minded, you would never believe. No wonder why I ended up in New York, because my spirit had to take me here. So, just wanting to do more and just did not have the resources. That was like one of the greatest challenges. And, even before coming back to ministry, and I want to talk a little bit about that, but, I've always had a ministry, or interest to reach youth. I remember one time, that was after Bible college when I was, starting with my ministry and all that kind of thing. I was doing my internship, and my church was going through a lot of challenges at the time. And I just the Lord spoke to me, and the Lord says, "Jermaine, I want you to just do something to make the young people know that the church is alive and well," because our church was going through a very hard time. And it was a period of time when people were like, kind of scared to come back, no need to go through the details. But then I was like, I was so young, but then I kind of felt like I had the responsibility to help to hold things together. Just graduated from Bible college and all that kind of thing. In fact, during that time, I got an opportunity to do internship. I got two internship offers, one in New York and one in Florida. And I actually turned them down just to kind of stay with my home church, to kind of help, build things back. And the Lord says, "I want you to do something to let the young people of this neighborhood know that the church is alive and well, and that, Jesus is alive and well." And I kind of thought like having a major, even before knowing that Louis Palau and Benny Hinn and those guys were doing these kind of things, I kind of felt like I needed to do like a mass evangelism outreach, sort of like a part concert, part preaching the word kind of thing. And bro, this was like a very expensive project. I had not 1 cent in my pocket, but God says, "You know what? Do this, have this major outreach." Bro, I started going to, companies in my neighborhood, in my hometown, went to this hardware store, telling the guys, the manager, like, I need to buy one of your flatbed beds for like a massive, massive trailer, to be like the stage. Went to a friend of mine, you know him as well, my good friend, Jakes. Residing in Canada. He had a lights business. I went to Jakes. It was like, "Jakes, I need some lights, bro, like some stage lights, some massive stage lights, And Jakes came on board. The hardware company came on board, provided that trailer for the stage. Trusted me as like a young guy. Provided the trailer for the stage. Jakes provided lights. I went to my, then DJ Nicholas and those guys, they were like acquaintances. Not very close at the time. No, maybe it would not be like an easier request, but went to those guys. Guys, you need to come and perform for me. DJ Nicholas, Jason Mighty. Who else was there? I think Ryan Mark was there as well. Came down. Like, this turned out to be like a massive outreach that started with like zero budget. Actually got this sound system in my neighborhood. Asked the guy if he could come and do it for free. It's like, no, I can't do it for free. But then we got a small sponsorship that paid for him. And when you press, got flyers for free. I think about 5,000 flyers, 10,000 flyers. Handed them out in the neighborhood. Had this massive evangelism. And you know what? Interestingly, following that evangelism, bro, like that church came back. That church really came back. The Christmas following that outreach, church was back. People did your church again. And then, the summer following was like a mighty revival that followed that event where a lot of young men became Christians. And, that's kind of one of my, early faith stories of God speaking. Resources were low. And then God really came through. It was a big challenge. And, even in terms of music, I remember I wanted to do my CD, because now I'm gone solo. Wanted to do my EP. That EP project was so expensive. I've always had like a fine taste in music, and I wanted it to be done, well and proper. And the producers I spoke to gave me their budgets and all that kind of thing. Just could not pay for that. And then I remember when the Lord spoke to me and said, you know what? This is how you could do it. You could just try to find a business partner, someone who will give you a loan.
Okay.
But by this time I was serving at my church in Faith Temple, Montego Bay. And, God spoke and said, you know what, go to this business partner, ask if he could provide you a loan to do your project. And then after the sales, you'll pay him back. I went by faith, went to this businessman, pitched my project. Dude, I'm telling you the truth, man. This guy paid for everything for free. It was like, I'm not giving you a loan. I'm actually going to pay for this project for free. I'm like, are you crazy? This was like...
That's awesome.
Yo, I'm telling you, man, this was like close to $500,000, man. Like, this guy just paid for the entire project. I'm talking about doing mass manufacturing with CD makers in New Jersey, paid projects. You build CD makers as well, right. And my music on all platforms and all kind of thing, bro. Was like that was like a miracle. And got my photo shoot done, by one of the very best persons, in the country, one of the best photographers in the country at the time, and that was just really God, So those early stories helped me, along the way to kind of trust God, even to this day. And I could go on and on, those were only 2 examples, which I'll share only 2 today. But, maybe another time I'll share more faith stories of how I've encountered challenges and God really came through.
Great. So I'm just going to use this time to just let our guests know that you can check out Jermaine Bolton's YouTube page on YouTube, and you'll find his songs. One of them I was playing in the background, Healing is a Bread, and there's so many healing. There's so many other songs that he has done, and he has been doing several shows, as you've heard. Some of the questions I was about to ask him, he has already covered them, because that alone, even to pull off that outreach, was a great success. So if I was supposed to ask you about any of your success stories, you've just mentioned 2 of your major successes, and those are really, really awesome. And one of your tagline for this show is faith, fashion, faith, and favor. And you've just mentioned 2 instances of faith and also favor, because that's more than faith and more than favor. To have such an outreach, have it funded by the hardware and the artists who came on board and the printry and everything, and then to your EP, that this man, you felt led in your spirit to do it. You went to this businessman and he funded the project for you, and that's an awesome thing. So we can talk about that. The next thing I really want to talk to you about is Tell us a little bit about your transition from doing ministry in Jamaica to now doing ministry in the USA. What was the transition like? The change from being a single man to a married man, now a father of two. Tell us a little bit about your experience, because I'm sure there are a lot of young people who might be going through different challenges in their lives, and they're wondering, "Well, this seems like a very polished young man, but they would not know some of the challenges and some of the things you have gone through with your transition." So tell us about your transition from doing ministry in Jamaica to now doing ministry in the USA, and then we're going to be talking about the wider aspect of your ministry as well after this.
Well, Dale, I'm telling you the truth, transition is hard. And everyone who has been through this kind of route will tell you the same thing. Transition is not easy. I remember I was serving as youth pastor in Montego Bay for 7 years. And then at the close of 7 years, I kind of felt the Lord saying to me, it's time to move on to other things. Mm-hmm. Then I started, talking to some contacts I have here in New York and, trying to dig roots and, setting up ministry opportunities that I would venture out in afterwards. But then things became so successful in terms of my conversations. I was like, yes, this is God, is so amazing. And then I went ahead, resigned from the church, said my goodbyes, get my little cake or whatever they have, people, send you off and nice little stories and all these little things. And then all my plans just went downhill. I was like, oh my God, it's like every single plan I was making to make my transition just went downhill, downhill. And then there was no transition anymore, bro. And I've already resigned. I could not return to my church because I've already resigned as a youth pastor. And I had nowhere going anymore. And then I said to myself, you know what? I'm still going to America. Long and short of the story, because that was a period of heavy stress. I remember sitting in my mother's bed, my mother's living room at my family home, went back to my family home and it's sitting down there on the couch one night and it's just thinking what is going to be next. And then, God told me what to do again. God, through my life, God just always give me some very strong verbal instructions. And, he told me to contact this church, to go and serve at this church. And then the difficult transition, became easier because, the church sponsored me for 2 years, paid my rent for those 2 years and, was able to serve there, and then that's so amazing because, you're moving to New York and having somebody paying your rent in the expensive tri-state area, that's like a miracle. And during that period of time I was able to do concerts as well because previous to that transition I was doing a lot of concerts, doing US tours and stuff like that, so I've had lots of contacts and I delved into those networks as well, did shows and did some church ministries and all that kind of thing. That was kind of my transition periods. I'd already met a wife. Prior to that, met my then girlfriend that I was kind of having a very short-term, long-distance relationship with. During that transitional period, my relationship became stronger. We got married in that period of time, and then my life just moved on quickly. Have 2 kids, as I mentioned before, and God just did some amazing things, and then for a while I stopped doing a lot of concerts and stuff like that, up until this moment, because I haven't been doing much music since doing that EP that I made mention of earlier. I haven't done any formal studio recordings since that, because I started focusing on family. And, God blessed me with this amazing opportunity. Started going to school, Naya College, where I did I started my master's degree, still working on that, in mental health counseling. And, with that kind of, educational background, was able to sneak in a New York State Education Department program where I coordinate a STEM program, believe it or not, leaving from Ministry of Music, coordinating a New York State Education Department's STEM program, science, technology, engineering, math, for very high achieving African American and Hispanic students, and doing that to this day. And just been so good. Like, people often say to me, like, dude, it's like you cheated the system, man. Like, how could you make a transition and then things matriculated so quickly? Like, what happened? What did you do? Even sometimes, bro, like, working with New York State Ed program and going to conferences and speaking to, fellow colleagues and all that kind of thing. And we're talking about, like, our pre-days, precursor to where we are right now. And I'm like, migrated from Jamaica, like, not too long ago. They're like, how did you get this job so quickly, But, it's all God. It's all God. And talking about transition, like, prior to leaving Jamaica, I remember hearing the Lord speaking to me audibly in my ear. And God kept saying, Rehoboth, Rehoboth. And I did not know what Rehoboth meant, because I did tell you that, in that early stage, I thought I was going to be transitioning into, like, a church in the New York area. And I thought that I was going to be serving at a Rehoboth church. Started Googling all the Rehoboth churches in New York and, like, thinking that's where they're going to be placing me, because people were working on placing me somewhere. And then that did not happen. But then it was long after transitioning and living in the country, like about a year, going 2 years, I started reading the book of Genesis, and I came upon the word Rehoboth. And then it was the first time in my life, like, after studying theology and all that kind of thing, it's the first time it dawned on me to, like, just research the word. Because I was actually thinking about the use of the word in the beginning, not necessarily researching the word. And then when I researched the word Rehoboth, I discovered that the word Rehoboth means a place of enlargement and fulfillment. And then I understood that God was telling me that I'm leading you into a place where I'm going to be enlarging your territory, and I'm going to give you great fulfillment. And I did not know what it meant until that point. So, transition is hard, but when we trust God, then, He's going to lead us to our desired destination. I have not reached my final destination, but where I'm at right now, I can say that I do see the Lord working, and God has been really good. Not been doing much music, but having a strong family and, like, very good job in this area, and serving in my church, my Reach Church. Shout out to all the Reach Church people out there. If you're in the New York area, make sure you visit Reach Church. Very diverse, multicultural, strong Bible believing church. That's where I serve, and I'm one of the worship leaders there.
Nice. That's good. So you mentioned a lot of things, and I'm sure with all of this, I'm sure
information.
All of this, go again.
No. I'm just saying that I'm sharing just a lot of information. You could piggyback on anything you want to.
Right. So I'm sure with all of this, there must be a point where you have to balance family and your ministry and work. How important it is for you to balance all of this? Now you have 2 young kids, you have a young wife, and we know these ladies desire a lot of attention. So how do you balance all of this as a corporate man, working in the education system as an administrator, as a worship leader? And we know church can be very demanding at times, and a lot of men will spend a lot of time at church, but not a lot of time at home. So how do you balance all of this to be able to support your family the way you do right now, and how important it is for you to balance it as well? Just share with us.
Well, I tell you the truth, I always remember to always remember the order of my passions.
Right.
Have to remember the order of our passions, because it comes in a specific order. It's God first,
Right.
then family, then church/ministry, right? So, putting God first, that's ultimate. Then I've never allowed anything to come in the place of my family. My family
Right.
always come before church. It always come before ministry. And it so happens that that even my kids, both of my children were born on a Sunday.
Wow.
And
That's
being so,
awesome.
yeah, it's like they're like holy kids. Decided they want
Yeah.
to come on. And being a church guy
Yes.
who's always involved in church, dude, I made sure that when I get my paternity leave from work, because thanks to Governor Como, that not only women gets their maternity leave, but the man gets his paternity leave as well.
That's
When I take
good.
my paternity leave from work, I also take it from church.
Nice.
Because
Nice.
because I'm baby watching. There's nothing that's gonna come in front of my family. And I remember, this particular time, was coming down for my first child to be born. I said to my church, I want to be off the schedule. I'm getting off the grid. I'm not going to be leading any worship during this period of time because I'm baby watching. And even one of the Sundays that they wanted me to lead worship, I was like, not leading on this day. They're always very understanding. And it so happens that my child came on that Sunday. The checking the time of the birth, I would have been in my sound check at church, which is like an hour away from home. When my wife's water broke. So that just kind of lets you know that I'm not going to put nothing in front of my family. My family comes first, even in terms of school activities. Just nothing, no activity at work, no activity at church, no activity nowhere is going to have me be at, doing other things when my child is doing like a pageant at school. Not doing that.
Right.
Not
Right.
doing that. So it's very important for young families, especially out there, to understand the order, of their passions. You may be passionate about, your ministry, you're passionate about your job, but the family passion should come first.
Right. Right. Very, very powerful and profound because a lot of people really get so caught up in music, in work, in other activities while the family is at home needing them. And then you have kids who are desiring the care and nurture of that. So that's very awesome. And I really want to applaud you. And I'm sure other
Yeah,
men watching will be
I've heard
encouraged
some.
by
I've heard some
testimony.
stories. Yeah, not cutting you off, but I've
Right.
heard so many stories of like pastors who are preaching and their child is being born. So it's like after getting down from the pulpit, or from the platform, then they go to the hospital and be introduced to a child that's already born. I'm not going to do that, man. I'm not missing that for the world. I'm going to be
Right.
there. And if you're ever in my circles, you'll know that Jermaine's face is always going to be seen with his children. At school, they know me, and I'm not one of the people to be played with either. That's like a different topic for a different time. I'm one of
Right.
those
Right.
hard dads to deal with, because you know what, I'm going to be there, and I know that I'm there and I'm in the mix. So it's a caution that dads need to adhere to in this time. Be there, man, be present. And watching social media and all that kind of thing, I see a lot of dads stepping up too. So that's very encouraging.
Right, right. Really encouraging to hear you say. And I mean, the contribution we make to kids now as fathers, it will go a long way because trust me, your son, your daughter will remember the days you came to school. They'll remember days you went to the park to play. And they'll remember all these things, the day when you did some little home chores. Just the other day, we had a chat and you were even sharing some ideas with me of how I could improve on my fathering skills. And it's one of those things,
Right.
which is why I consider you one of those great mentors. And I mean, we have touched on faith, we have touched on favor, and the exciting part of tonight is also fashion. And I'm sure a lot of people maybe listen to what you're saying and they're wondering how would we fit fashion into this young man's life. So I would just want you to tell us about the exciting part, which is a lead up from what you've just mentioned with your early years in Jamaica in ministry. And also, you made a major launch a few months ago, right in the heart of the pandemic. and that was, I consider, a very, very major success. So tell us some more tell us about your business initiatives and also your ministry outreach with Impact. Tell us about Impact. I got a first hand, they would say, I helped to take the shine off the ball with Impact with one of your mission trip in Jamaica. Actually, your first mission trip in Jamaica, which was a great success. We went to several locations. So tell the viewers about your how you formed Impact and also your fashion that you have used now as a driving force to raise funds for your mission trip and for your mission journey. Tell us more about that before we close tonight.
Yes, Impact is one of the integral hats that I wear. Impact means International Missionary Performing Arts Company, IMPAC. Some people say community as well, which of course, we're considering, changing the name to that because it's just what it is. International Missionary Performing Arts Community. It involves a group of young professionals who come together to share their faith in different countries using their gifts and talents as tools. Like, for instance, on our team, we have a chiropractor who travels with us, and whenever we go to different countries, we set up a chiropractic clinic, and we serve people by treating them, setting up a clinic. We also go to communities and we distribute school supplies, medical supplies, food, and provide grants and stuff like that for organizations that needs help. Like, for instance, if a church is being constructed and they need assistance, then we seek to provide funds to kind of help to do a little project, maybe to put windows in or doors or the roof or something like that. Currently we don't really have like a construction arm of the organization, but that's something we're looking into as well. But but for now we do help organizations by giving grants. And as you've mentioned, we went to Jamaica and we served in 2018, where we did visits at a number of schools, and also the Manning Boys Home in St. Elizabeth, where we provided clothing for all the boys in that home, as well as food and other sports toys that they needed. Then following that, in 2019, we went to Guatemala, did the very same thing. Did something similar. Their major concern or their major need was food. So, we provided food for close to 5,000 people, kids, families, children and adults. We actually provided cooked meals at locations in the days. And we also provided groceries for families, especially a neighborhood that was devastated by volcano Fuego. I don't know if you know the Guatemalan culture, you'd have known about a major volcano that happened a few years ago. So we went to that geographical location.
Right.
We handed out food packages and stuff like that. So that's kind of things that we do. Very diverse, multicultural group. Not just one person, but it's just like a very, our team looks like heaven, and I like diversity, and we just reach people of all, areas and all groups. Now, as you know, it's very costly to do missions, because when we talk about these projects, you talk about like raising funds, you talk about putting on concerts and dinners. One of our major fundraisers was, prior to the pandemic, was an event called Night of Hope, where we have, just an elegant night. People come to perform, and people dress up and just come to an elegant gala, and of course, tickets being sold, all used for the missions. Now, when the pandemic struck, it was difficult for us to do an event like that because people are socially distancing and physically distancing themselves, and of course, no one wants to come to an event. So the idea just came to my spirit, an idea that was already pitched to me by a business partner, to have an online apparel store. And then, it just came to my spirit to just do it at that time, that it was the right time to do it. Of course, we're planning our next trip for the Dominican Republic, and we're raising funds, and then we just run with it. We set up our website. We have a team of designers that
Right.
put on t-shirts, put on garments, concepts that comes to my spirit. The creative, put the creative concepts on t-shirts for me. Try to be as detailed as possible because I'm a guy of arts, but not physically drawing and stuff like that. So I have a team of people who work with me to do that, and we launched our Impact Lifestyle Apparel store. So you go to that store, apparel.myimpact.org, and remember, impact is spelled IMPAC. Apparel.myimpact.org, and you'll find hoodies, t-shirts, face masks, caps, water bottles, teacups, you name it. Just different types of designer, well modern, you know, active gears that you
Yeah.
could actually wear. So when an individual goes to that store to make a purchase, they're actively involved in ministry. They're becoming active in ministry. First of all, they are funding ministry because 100% of our profits that we make, that Impact makes, it goes to the mission field. It helps to fund these projects. So when
Wow.
one supports the store, they're actually supporting missions. Not only that, but they're actually promulgating the gospel in terms of being bold in their faith, wearing those apparels, and influencing the world to participate in missions. Because the missions is actually the Great Commission of Jesus Christ, found in
Right.
Matthew 28, verse 9. Go he therefore into all the world and preach the gospel. So when you're actually wearing those apparels, because I should have mentioned as well that every single one of our apparels are missions themed. So you may see like a globe, or all our themes, looking fashionable and all that kind of thing, but it's all missions geared. So you're actually influencing the world to participate in missions. And of course, it's just as important as going to the field
Hmm.
with us. Buying a t-shirt is just as important as going to the field, actually reaching souls. So every child that receives a smile as a result of receiving a backpack, or food on their table, then it's actually, they're receiving those smiles because someone buys one of these apparels from our store. So that's what it is when it comes down to fashion. Go to our website, you'll see our campaigns, photo shoot campaigns, and you'll see our apparels, and
Right.
you can participate and support us in that way.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so
Uh,
that's that.
Right, right. You may have just joined us on this broadcast tonight or today, wherever you are. And we're talking to Jermaine Bolton. He's a businessman. He's an event planner, a father, a worship leader, a youth pastor, you name it. He's an administrator, and we are having a very warm discussion with him. I'm just going to ask you to repeat the information again for the apparel, so that people can who want to support the ministry, because I'm sure you won't get a lot of people going on the mission trip, but you have come up with a creative way through the pandemic or during the pandemic to launch this online apparel store, and it's really going good. So share the details again one more time, and then we can wrap up the show. And we must have you encourage someone today, someone who don't know Jesus, someone who maybe know Jesus but they are struggling. We're going to have you encourage them as well. But share the details of the Impact Store again, online store, and then we can move on to encouragement before we close.
Okay, well, you're breaking up a little bit, but I did hear enough.
Hmm.
The store is as an offshoot from our missions website. Our missions website is myimpact.org. Myimpact.org. That is myimpac.org. And then the store is apparel.myimpact.org. So,
All right.
whichever website you go to, you'll get to the store. If you go to myimpact.org, there, on the menu bar, you'll see the store. You could click and go to the store if you just want to just go to the store. Apparel.myimpact.org, you could actually go there and learn more about what we offer and support. You talk about encouraging the generation and
Right.
encouraging people. Well, we're living in a world that is very truncated, very watered down. A lot of things are watered down. People don't really want to do anything of substance anymore. A lot in many spaces. Not everywhere, but in many spaces, you'll find the greater majority of people wanting to do watered down stuff. They don't want real gospel. They want missionaries gospel. They want people to talk about the things that makes them feel comfortable. And it just keeps going on and on. So my encouragement to people out there is like, just be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Serve Jesus and serve Him well. Be bold enough faith. Young people out there, you're living for Jesus. Don't put Him under a bushel. Be bold for Jesus. And even for those who are not saved, we want you to just make a big step. And
All right, so we are having some technical difficulties with Jermaine Bolton, and one of his encouragement to us and to those of us who are watching is just to be authentic and do not put Jesus under a bushel. Don't hide him. Don't ever be afraid to let people know that you serve God. So we spoke today with Jermaine Bolton. He is a pastor, a youth pastor, a businessman. He's an event planner. He's an administrator. And also, he's a husband and a father, and that's really awesome. So our guest on the Awesome Show today was Jermaine Bolton. We lost him, but we lost him almost at the end of the broadcast. So we want to thank every single person for joining today. Look out for more exciting shows. We're going to be having some exciting shows lined up for you, and you will see these live both on Facebook, on YouTube. We're going to be doing some stuff on Instagram as well. And we are just grateful to have you join us on the Awesome Show. I'm Dayle T, and I want to just encourage you to stay blessed, stay awesome. And as always, I will tell you, today is an awesome day given to us by an awesome God to do some awesome things. So I want to thank Jermaine Bolton for joining us. He left prematurely, but I'm sure he will get to see other parts of this broadcast. Thank you so much for joining. Share this with your friends, share this with your family, and just know if you're a young man, a young woman, God is real, and whatever you want to accomplish in life, you can achieve. This has been another episode of The Awesome Show. I'm Dayle T. See you soon. God bless.